Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show. Before the free show, hello, Tep.
Hi, Pickle. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I understand that Friday's show without me went splendidly.
Yeah, it was the best one yet.
Really, I've done 1,126 of these, and that's the
And that
top
was,
ranked.
yep, took the number one seed.
Hmm, interesting. Interesting. I wonder why that is. I am broadcasting from home. I should probably tell you guys, I'm fine. Everything's okay. But my Hank's grandparents are coming in from the Great White North. And by the Great White North, I mean St. Louis.
Missouri.
And yeah, which, look, it gets cold up there. And they get more snow than us. And it's the first time they've been down since summer. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Been a minute. And they're normally we Hank gets to see his grandparents uh every 6 weeks, something like that. We try to get them down, or we go up there, things like that. Obviously there have been travel restrictions and things like that. But just for the sake of safety, because it is Tep wife's spring break, so she's not going to work. Hank's not going to school, and I'm going to be doing the show remotely just to make sure, because I think all of us, all no, I know I've got me and Tep wife have one shot, and my
hmm
father-in-law has one shot. I don't think my mother-in-law has a shot yet, but we're not all fully vaccinated, so we're trying to take as many precautions as we can, which is why I'm from home. I'm sitting at home, so worry, everything's fine. I just like sitting in my office more than I like sitting in a room with Pickle.
Fair. Tough, but fair.
That's fine. Um, this weekend, you went to a real life sporting event.
And it was everything. Go mean green. Yeah, I did though.
Uh,
Um, yeah, it
you
was
tell people about it?
weird. It was different, but there it was like everyone was wearing a mask. Um, we all had our little pods, so like the chairs were zip tied, so you couldn't sit there. But yeah, we were safe, and it was super super limited numbers, so we were lucky to be able to have some connections to get in. But unbelievable game, and the Mean Green are going dancing. So,
Yeah, I
ta.
guess you should probably tell people what it was.
Yes, it was the Conference USA basketball championship, which the Mean Green won, and will be going dancing for the first time since 2010. So
How
I
about
might
that?
I might mess around and wear green every day this week.
I think so. I'm trying to think of the alma maters of everybody in the office. Um, I guess Texas
Everyone
State
won
didn't
but
make the
you.
tournament. Um, oh no, but Missouri's in the dance. Missouri's
Yeah,
number
but
9 seed.
everyone else won their conference in some form or fashion. Texas
Is that
State,
true?
yeah, Texas has Baylor won the regular season conference title, which is Shahan, and then
Hmm.
Texas State won the tournament, which is Ish. Will
No, he
was
didn't.
he went yeah.
No, they must have won the regular season.
Okay, then they won something. I thought it
Yeah.
was the tourney, but maybe it was just
No,
the regular
because no, because
season.
they're not in the tournament.
Yeah, that's fair. So the regular season, Will is Texas, and they won the tourney conference, or we were Conference USA, and then so yeah, that leaves you.
Hmm.
LOL.
Hmm. Well, I mean, you'll have to speak up. We can't hear you from our 9 seed. You're way down there at what? Is it
12.
like a 38 seed or something like that? Is it,
We got a
um
12.
a 12? Who do y'all play?
Purdue, the Boilermakers, on
Ah,
Friday,
you know
Friday
what they
night.
say about Purdue?
Per don't.
More like per don't.
I'm okay with that terrible joke this one time.
More like per don't. Yeah, Mizzou plays Oklahoma, so
Mm,
that'll be fun.
Yikes.
I think that look, I think this is an instance in which we can each feel pretty good about rooting for each other's
Oh yeah,
alma maters,
absolutely. I don't want OU
right?
to win. I never
People,
want OU to win,
right?
ever, in anything.
Exactly. Although if Mizzou wins, they're going to play Gonzaga, so
That's
you
your own
know,
funeral.
yeah. So well,
One and
anyway,
done.
all right, hit the theme expo.
Let's go! Free money!
Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership, technically, that's where this thing's being produced. In Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show on the internet. My name is Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, texasfootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live at texasfootball.com or on Facebook, you'll listen to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. I think we're also on YouTube and Twitch. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Either way, thank you for doing your part. Support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting here in my home office, sitting over there.
There you go.
Nailed it. Making us sound good back at the Dave Campbell's Texas Football headquarters. She is the Duchess of the Dorks. She is Ashley Pickle. Hello, Ashley Pickle. Do you read me?
I do. Hello. Through the magic of the internet.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did. I definitely did.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of that. Today is Monday, March 15th, 2021, 255 days until Thanksgiving. Episode of 1126. 1126, this is the Matt Whiteside episode. On today's show, mis amigos, we are going to run through some headlines from the football week that was, including an absolute dismantling by an FCS team here in the state of Texas that you will have to hear about to believe. It is rather shocking. We'll get into that. Plus, a former Texas high school football coach is now an FBS head coach. Talk about that. And then back half of the show, earlier today, I chatted with Mineral Wells' new head coach, Seth Hobbs. He got promoted from the defensive coordinator position to the big chair. We talked about that. We talked about putting his stamp on the Mineral Wells program. Excited for you guys to hear our conversation with Seth Hobbs of Mineral Wells coming up here at the back half of the program. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Tony Blaylock, Rob Hadaway, Tony Venegas, and Daniel Agnew. Welcome in, fellas.
Welcome in, friends. As we mentioned last Thursday, but now that it's passed because it was yesterday, we owe it to one more time to say a very happy birthday to Dave Campbell. Dave Campbell turned 96 yesterday. Happy birthday, Mr. Campbell. Hanging out down there in Waco. Yes, so happy birthday to the actual GOAT. Dave Campbell turned 96 years young yesterday. And so we hope he had a very, very happy birthday. He's almost certainly not watching this internet show, although if he is, hop in the comments.
Let us hear it, Dave.
That'd be awesome if Dave would just like, I'm here, and I don't know, it just feels like you guys should probably talk a little bit more about Angelo State. Like, that would be a really
And we would instantly talk about Angelo State.
Be like, all right, let's talk Angelo State.
We're an Angelo State podcast now.
That's the boss man said.
It's fair.
I like my job, so I'm gonna do what he says. All right, so let's get into some headlines from across the state of Texas. You may remember that there is, in fact, a football season going on.
There is.
And that football season for FCS and Division II, some of the small sub FBS teams. And there are a couple of things I want to get to, but there's one that we have to start. And that is what happened with Sam Houston State this weekend. So Sam Houston State is probably, I would say, yeah, they're the most decorated and the most consistently excellent FCS program in the state of Texas. We had some questions coming into the year as to whether or not they were going to be able to kind of jump up and make that leap and get back there. They had some big questions kind of around their program about whether or not that we wanted to see answered, if they were going to get back to like national title contention. Mm-hmm. They're probably, they're certainly a contender this year in the Southland, but are they going to be able to get in the national title contention? Mm-hmm. Or national title caliber, I should say. Well, this week was a big test. They took on, they welcomed in the number 7 team in the nation, Nichols. Nichols, who has been excellent. Nichols, who has been, obviously number 7 in the nation, undefeated, has looked very, very good this year. And all Sam Houston did was beat Nichols 71-17.
It was like what, 50-7 at halftime?
Yes, it was staggering. So they tied the game at 7 with 3:01 left in the first quarter, and then they rattled off 64 of the next 74 points in this game. It was an astonishing display. Eric Schmid was fantastic. 21 of 32, 366, and 6 touchdowns. He completed a pass to 9 different receivers. It was the largest blowout against a top 10 foe since 2011.
It
was stunning. And by the way,
it looked like Carthage in the title game.
It was stunning, a stunning performance. And by the way, don't just look at the obviously offensive numbers are going to be eye-popping, but the defense was fantastic as well. They held Nichols State, who is one of the best running teams in the nation, just 118 yards on the ground. That's fantastic. They were all around excellent. And by the way, this was a Southland Conference game, and it was thought to be that it's probably Nichols or Sam Houston. Well, I would say that they have jumped into the driver's seat of the Southland Conference. An absolutely incredible performance from Sam Houston, 71-17 over Nichols. An exceptional performance. They moved to 2-0 on the year. One team that got into the win column this year, and you feel really good for them, Lamar. Lamar earned their first win under Coach Blaine Green, a really fun 27-26 overtime win over McNeese. And it's their first win at all since October 2019. Very, very cool for Blaine Morgan and company, as the Lamar Cardinals have improved to, I think they're 1-2 now. But fantastic win for them to beat McNeese. And that's probably, our Corey Hogue on TexasFootball.com says that it's the most improved team in the country over the first couple of weeks. And I am reticent to disagree with him. Very impressive from the Cardinals as Lamar breaks into the win column. 2 other college football notes real quick. Something to keep an eye on. There's something going down in the NCAA Rules Committee this week. They're discussing a few different potential rule changes. One of them could be another change to the overtime rule, something they've got their eye on. It would be that after the second overtime, in the second overtime, if you score a touchdown, if you remember, okay, let's back up. If you remember what the old rule was, which was in the third overtime, you have to go for 2 if you score a touchdown. You remember this?
Mm-hmm. It's always been that way.
That was the old rule. So then the 7 overtime game comes around, and they're like, that is, that's a problem. We don't want these games going into 7 overtime, stuff like that. So what they did was they said, okay, You have to run two. We're going to keep the rule of the two. You have to run a 2-point conversion in the third overtime, and then once we get to the fifth overtime, it is just 2-point plays back and forth. That's all it is. Well, now they're toying with the idea of jimmying with it again, which would be that in the second overtime you have to go for 2. And then starting in the third overtime period would just be 2-point conversion plays back and forth. They want to shorten this thing even further. I know why they're doing it. Like the idea of player safety, and at that point, players are extremely tired. They're a lot more likely to get injured and things like that. I get it. I wish they'd just settle on something,
right?
And just say, this is what we're going to do. This is it. And so.
I completely agree.
Maybe bring back ties.
It's one of those things. It's like, I don't mind that new rule, especially, like you said, the injury gets so much higher the further you go on. But stick with something and decide, because the switching back and forth makes it so difficult. Snip, snap.
I would just say, like, I'm okay with this rule if they want to implement it, where you have to go for 2 starting in the second overtime, and then the third overtime is just 2-point plays back and forth. I'm okay with that. But just say, this is what we're doing forever and ever, amen. And just, like, every year, don't go in and try to find some new adjustment. Another news from out of Kansas, Dateline Lawrence, Kansas. Not sure if you heard about this. But Les Miles has found himself in some hot water, and now without a job. Les Miles has stepped down. Did he fire? I don't know what the exact thing was. Miles was placed on administrative leave, or was it?
I think it was.
I don't.
Mutually agreed. But that's more of
Miles was on administrative leave before agreeing to a buyout. So it was kind of a mutual decision for him to leave. I guess that's what they're saying. Okay. So they do need a head coach. They do have an interim head coach. And the interim head coach may be a name that Texas high school football fans remember. It's Emmett Jones. Emmett Jones, the former South Oak Cliff head coach, he coached at Texas Tech. He was at a variety of different Texas high school football programs. But Emmett Jones is the new interim head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks. I don't know. I doubt he's going to be the permanent head coach. That's my feel for the situation. I doubt he's going to be the permanent head coach. But it's cool that he gets to be the interim head coach, at least for the offseason, until they because they do have some sort of I believe they have a search committee that's going out there and trying to find a new coach. But for now, Texas high school football royalty, Emmett Jones, is the new head coach at Kansas. So congratulations to him on inheriting that mess. And then I want to direct you to TexasFootball.com. A few different things up there, including Matt Steps this week in Texas high school football. A few different news and notes from around the state. Merkel has made a hire
on the RGV too.
Good.
There's a
there's a piece on the RGV. There's a big transfer.
Quarterback. Transfer in the RGV.
Yes. Merkel is looking for a head coach because Britt Hart, formerly the Falls City head coach, is now heading to Stamford. That's pretty big news. This came down over the weekend. But there was but it appears that Sweetwater is going to be making a hire. Let's see if I can pull this off in a hurry. Yeah. It appears that that is it official? I want to make sure I don't. Let me make sure I don't say something I'm not supposed to. Yes.
I saw an article on
Sweetwater
earlier.
From our friend Brandon McAuliffe. There at Big Country Preps. Sweetwater is hiring Russell Lucas from Hamlin. Hamlin obviously has been spectacular the past couple of seasons. And so Coach Lucas is moving from Hamlin over to the Mustang Bowl there in Sweetwater. That's pretty big doings out there in West Texas. There's also a big movement in the Houston area. Fort Bend Hightower coach Joseph Sam, our buddy, is moving from Fort Bend Hightower up to take on the job at Arlington Bowie. Congratulations to him, as well as Klein Oak is looking for a head coach, as Jason Glenn, their head coach and the A&M star, is moving to an administrative role. He's heading into an administrative role within Klein ISD. So Klein Oak is looking for a job. Or looking for a head coach. So a lot of news and notes on TexasFootball.com about the Texas high school football world. So make sure you are there looking at it with your internet face. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Pickle, earlier today, do you have this? I want to make sure I'm not tossing to nothing.
No, I got you.
Earlier today, I had the great opportunity to talk with the new head coach of the Mineral Wells Rams, Coach Seth Hobbs. Coach Hobbs is being promoted from the defensive coordinator spot up to the big chair to take over that program. It'll actually be his second head coaching job. We talk a little bit about that. Here's my conversation with new Mineral Wells head coach Seth Hobbs here on Texas Football Today. We're spending the offseason here on Texas Football Today, getting some of the biggest names from across the state. And here joining us today, we're joined by the new head coach of the Mineral Wells Rams. We're joined by Coach Seth Hobbs. Coach, how are you?
I'm awesome. Yourself?
I'm doing excellent. How are things in beautiful Mineral Wells, Texas?
Man, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, the Rams are throwing some weight around. We're doing all right.
Fantastic. You're taking over, promoted from defensive coordinator to replace Coach Gerald Perry. I'm interested when you got the word that you were going to be getting the big chair. What was your reaction there?
I mean, number one, excited that I didn't have to move. To be honest, everybody in this business has had a U-Haul truck a couple of times parked at their house, and so being here, will be my 8th year here. That was the number one biggest part, was just pumped that we didn't have to move. The big chair part of it, honestly, the only difference is, and I've been an athletic director before, but the only difference is this stinking thing rings all the time. That's really, other than that, football is football, off season is off season. That's really the only big deal. But yeah, stoked, man.
Now, in my defense, only half of those phone calls are mine.
Okay? Right. No, there's
other.
No, you don't have anything to do with junior high basketball or anything like that. So
yeah, I guess that's probably true. From your perspective, you're taking over a program that has been good recently, but maybe has fallen on a couple of hard times. I'm interested. You're a guy who's been around Coach Perry's program there at Mineral Wells. How do you balance, what you guys already have established versus putting your own stamp on the program?
So that's always the question, right? Like whether you're promoted or whether you're coming in from from the outside to a new place. And there's every coach does good things, right? And even if you're coming into a job where they were terrible before and you're new and all your staff is new, there's a 99% chance that a bunch of the stuff that coach did was really good stuff, right? They probably lifted weights, they probably ran track, they probably did all those things that help you be successful. And so yeah, sure, that's the balance, is trying to figure out what parts that I do that I believe in that wasn't a part of what we did because I wasn't in charge. But for the most part, a lot of that stuff won't change because a lot of what we did is the same stuff that I do believe in. Am I exactly the same offensively minded as Coach Perry was? No. But other than that, I mean, it's very similar.
Talking with Coach Seth Hobbs of Mineral Wells here on Texas Football Today. You can involve the conversation, #TFToday. Coach, this is not your first head coaching job. You were head coach there at Rio Vista for a year back in 2010. That is in the before times, we should say. Sure. I'm curious, what do you think you gained from that year there at Rio Vista that you're going to bring with you to this job?
The number one thing is how to deal with people, right? And whether it be parents, school boards, or whatever. I was 29 years old at the time, and 29-year-old me is very different than 41-year-old me, right? And so just the idea that it's my way or the highway, is still intact, but it's how you communicate that, right? So that's the biggest thing is just dealing with people, dealing with parents, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't trade it for the world. In some ways, that was my best year as a coach, and we won 3 football games. But at the same time, I learned just as much, if not more, that year than any other year. And I've got a state championship ring. So
You guys were at you guys went 2-7 last year there at Mineral Wells. I'm interested, from your perspective, how you assess what you guys were able to accomplish, what last year really was. Obviously, a whole lot else besides football going on in 2020. How do you assess your 2020 season there with the Rams?
So in some ways we underachieved. In some ways we were a victim of the COVID crazy, and then in some ways we overachieved. We're still extremely young. Our starting offensive line last year was 4 sophomores and a junior. The year before, it was the same kids, 4 freshmen and a sophomore. And so you can imagine, it's not too hard to add up why we didn't win a whole lot of football games in the last 2 years when you got that kind of stuff going on. And it wasn't like those guys were the best players. It was those guys were the guys that were there, right? Now, what does that mean for the future? Well, it means really good things because those kids have played a lot and they got a lot of experience. What we got to figure out is if we can have an experience of something besides getting our butt kicked. That's what the experience that we have right now. But yeah, overall, I mean, to be able to win our last district game and get in the playoffs, despite the fact that we got our butt handed to us after that was a big deal for our kids. And winning that football game, winning in overtime the way we did, that was a huge, vaulting point for us. And I think it's gonna lead to some really good things, in the future.
I know one guy you guys are really excited about is Tristan Gray, kind of a do-it-all athlete. You're the all-district utility player of the year last year. He makes his impact all over the field. I can watch the film and I can do those things and tell you, hey, he's a pretty good player. But you're the guy who sees him in the weight room, sees him in the hallways, sees him every day at practice. What is it about Tristan Gray that sets him apart?
He number one, he does everything. Number two, he's not scared of anybody. Number three, he's a great student and a great kid. And number four, his dedication is unmatched. Like, he's the guy who is here literally every single day in the summer. Last week we had a baseball game here, and I guess it was the day that we were getting out for spring break. But we'd had a track meet that day. Well, he went to Gainesville, 2 hours away, won 4 gold medals at the track meet, and was at the baseball game at 5 o'clock that evening, and was, I think, pitched before too long in that game. So I mean, he's just a kid that isn't scared to do anything and has a great attitude about it when he's doing it. And when he gets the ball, he's dangerous, man. Is a really great, exceptional kick returner, in my opinion. Has really good pop, catches the football really well, and really has a nose for the ball in the secondary as well. It'll be one of those things where, for forever I was the guy always fighting to get those guys on defense, and now it'll be interesting to see, whether I can tell everybody, hey man, he's going to have to carry the rock. Might not need to have him out there every play on defense. So.
You are you are being promoted from defensive coordinator. You're a defensive guy. Last year, let's say the defense inconsistent. There were times where you guys looked really good, and other times where it just didn't work for you guys. What's the key to make that next step? What needs to happen for you guys to become the Mineral Wells defense I know you guys want to be?
Well, very simply getting those guys who were young another year underneath them. I mean, that's the key. The inconsistency is a direct result of kids thinking instead of doing, right? And so and really that's football in general, right? If they're thinking about what to do instead of just playing and reacting, then they're going to be a step slow. And so sometimes when you play guys that you're even with, you end up not being as successful as you could have been because you're a step slow. And so that's the key. It's staying simple, both offensively and defensively, but staying simple, keeping our scheme to where our kids can understand it and execute it and not be thinking about it, because if they're thinking about it, then they're going to get beat.
One last question for Seth Hobbs, the head coach of Mineral Wells here on Texas Football Today. Coach, when you go home, you're surrounded. It's all girls at home besides you, whether it's your wife Joey or your daughters Hudson and Hunter. And I guess my question now is, at work now you have the big boss job. You're the boys athletic director. You're the head football coach. You're the boss. Has anything like that as far as the structure of power changed at home? or is
No,
that okay?
no, sir. No, my wife is more than likely the one that wears the pants in the family, but I also have a 8th grade daughter, and so if anybody has ever dealt with those particular brand of humans, they are different, and there's definitely times when she is in charge, and then my 6-year-old may be the toughest out of all of them. So they're no, the hierarchy has not changed one bit.
Okay.
I'm still in last place.
I figured, but you gotta ask. I'm a journalist. That's what I do.
I get the big piece of chicken. That's about the end of it.
All right. Listen, a nice consolation prize. He's
Sure.
He's the new head coach of the Mineral Wells Rams. Coach, really appreciate your time. Congratulations again on the new gig, and looking forward to seeing what you guys do in the fall.
Thanks a lot, man. Go Rams.
There he is, Seth Hobbs, the new head coach of the Mineral Wells Rams. Talked with him earlier today. Good dude. Excited to see what he does there up there in Mineral Wells, and excited to see if they can get a little turnaround. They're in that Iowa Park Graham district, so always very difficult there to break through. But hopefully he can help turn that around and get the Rams back on the good foot. So appreciate Coach Hobbs hopping on with us a little bit earlier today. And now we go back to Louisville, Texas, to our chief final thoughts correspondent, Ashley Pickle, for America's second favorite segment, Final Thoughts.
I loved his comment about dealing with the 8th grade, the 14-year-old daughter. That was great. Man, if that's not true, I don't know what
were
is.
you like? What were you like at 8th grade?
Probably a little turd. Well, the other thing
No,
is
I mean 8th grade. Not now.
Funny. Very funny. No, the
I
other
don't know
thing
if it's
is
bad connection. If you can't.
The other thing is too. It's always like, and you can probably relate to this because you and your brothers, y'all are pretty close in age, right?
My older brother is 2 years older than I am, and my younger brother is 5 years younger than I am.
Okay, so the 5 years thing, I was gonna say that's the thing. Like me and my brother are 6 years apart. So when I'm at 14 and he's at 8-year-old little annoying little pest brother, that was probably where it all nothing was good. I was done with him at that age.
Okay.
As we've gotten older, perfectly fine. But at that age, 14 and having a little 8-year-old running around, not cool.
No. I can see that. Okay. Tomorrow, it's Hot Take Tuesday with Matt Stepp. So you will not want to miss that. So that's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks again to Seth Hobbs, new head coach of the Mineral Wells Rams, for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. I bet you don't have the camera on the Vince Young trophy, do you?
Test me. Let's go. Your girl was on her game this morning.
Please come get your Player of the Year trophy. We will see you tomorrow in Texas Football Today.